So the matrix I've selected is the Zoom one, which is the feed that I'm sending currently into my laptop, which is getting from a Tascam 4x4 sound card. Thank you, Waldemar. So that's how the audio is getting to you. And you can see I've even had to put in a 200 millisecond delay on the feed coming to you. So I can't really look at myself and talk because it feels weird. But my lip sync is going through there. The reason for that is obviously my whole camera setup is running via Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi links and everything. So by the time the signal gets processed and sent out of the iPad onto an HDMI converter, it's obviously racked up a little bit of latency. So I've had to send the source that I'm sending to you guys and put a delay on the matrix. And you can see at the moment I'm just feeding two feeds into there on that channel 1 and channel 2, which is left and right on the drop downs. And then I've linked them together with a little link button. I can link it or unlink it, and then open up the level to neg 10. Obviously I did that during the sound check. If I pushed it all the way to 0 dB, it was a little bit hot for the laptop and for the Zoom call to handle, so I wanted to make sure that we keep the levels at a decent spot for you guys. So I'm not running too hot there, but it's a simple use. This is probably one of the most common uses of a matrix. If you have your main master as a source, so I end up on my master bus. There's my master left and right. Now, what am I feeding as an outcome? If I'm sitting in a broadcast van, my outcome is sending a music mix to the broadcast. If I'm sitting in front of a PA, outcome is the PA. If I'm doing monitors, okay, well, I'm not going to have left and right, but if I'm doing corporate, anything like that, I can then decide how do I want to utilize the source that I've now generated, i.e. the left and right. In this way, I've decided that I'm going to send this source via a matrix to you guys listening to this broadcast. So I've gone to a matrix mixer, I've set it up, I've made it stereo, and I've taken the left right and I've sent it to the unit. And then once we did that and I pushed it up, I realized, hang on, there's latency. Now, to use an example in this scenario, if I didn't do that, if I thought I'm sitting here, the only people listening to me is you, there's no reason to run a matrix. So I send you my left right. Then I said, yeah, I've got in-ears in, I'm listening to myself so that I can hear, you know, what I'm sending you guys. But now I look at it and there's a major lip sync issue. Now, where do I put the delay? If I put delay on the left right, what am I listening to? Then I have to solo my mic. But if I put the delay on the mic, then I can't listen to myself, and it's a cycle. So now I'm independent from what you guys are hearing. I'm listening to the left and right as a source on my in-ears of my monitoring feed for monitor bus B. Monitor bus A is feeding my monitors. And you guys are going to Zoom. So if I can solo that Zoom matrix, but obviously I'm going to hear that delay, which is in line with that context. Now from here, if I now had to add another recording, which I am at the moment, I'm also recording this. I can show you quickly. There's a recording running, just going into a USB. It's recording a WAV at 96K. It's been recording for 17 minutes and 43 seconds. And that's also being fed off left and right. So I'm already using my left and right in this scenario for two things, not just one. So if I go away from matrix, I'm going to go to my auxiliaries, and you can see there's a lot of auxiliaries. So if I just attention and auxiliary quickly, and I use the language attention, just something I want to get to quickly before I don't think I'd explained this before. If you're used to the old profile console, you notice that there's a select button on every channel. And you can see I'm pressing that select button, and that select button selects this channel within this bank of 8 to this bank of encoders. And what I'm doing here, that select button over there will do the same thing over there. The select buttons over here will go that way. I'll just pull the screen closer so it's hiding some stuff there. But then there's an attention button, which is a new button. Now the attention button works like the old select button on the profile. So when I attention something, the system looks at it. So in other words, if I've got a channel up on my center display here, my multi-touch display in the middle. If I attention a channel, that's the channel I see there. That's the channel I see on the software. and I can take it in different ways. So when I press attention, that's what I'm going to see on the screen on the side. So in this way now, I've got my output set up on the screen there. I'm going to go to my output section over here. I go to my auxiliaries, and then whichever auxiliary I attention is what you see on the screen. So if I do one over there, you can see the blue line where it's attention, and there you can see the auxiliary. And this auxiliary, you can see it's got a PEQ on it. It's got a graphic EQ on it if it wants to, which is also something new about the console. On the previous generation, you had 8, 16 or 24 graphic EQs, and then you could choose on which output bus you're going to use them. On the SXL, every single output bus has a graphic EQ built in on the onboard processing. That includes matrix, groups, auxiliaries, mains, all of them. So I can choose whether I want to use a graphic EQ, or I can use a channel, and I can operate with the normal. I'm going to do it like here so you can see. So I go EQ and you can see attention. And there I've got an EQ section. I can switch it on, and then I can EQ the channel, or in this case, the auxiliary is like I want. It's also got a single dynamic on it, which is great. Nice to have. These days, one of the big things with auxiliaries, which has changed a lot, is almost every production now will have at some point, or permanently, or only IEMs, in-ear monitors. And one of the biggest risks with in-ear monitors is human hearing. So compression and limiting is important for the protection of ears. You might trust yourself when I stick something in my ears, but I don't trust you. You know, if everybody makes a mistake, I might be the one making a mistake for feedback, all that. So a limiter comes in very handy. And then the PEQ that's on there, the parametric EQ is what I'm talking about. You can see that it's a 7-band parametric EQ. You can see that on the side here. I don't know if you can see where I'm running my fingers across. Yeah, you can. Which also means it's typical of a high-end EQ. You know, if I'm doing a mastering for an in-ear mix, all in-ears are slightly different. So, you know, if the mix is great, everything's just a bit harsh, or this or that or whatever, you want to be quite specific with your EQ on that to get a nice sound to the client. You can also do some inserts, pre or post fade inserts, which is nice. The pre or post fade is a standard feature now on every channel, input and output. And then obviously we can do some side chaining. We've got high pass and low pass filters that we can get to, which we can activate and get onto. Same thing with the other one. Get in there, you can get quite specific. So that comes in very handy when you want to start doing using your auxiliaries for potential feeds to front fills, subs, things like that. You can very quickly, if you don't have additional processing, you can, by using your PEQ, do a very quick high and low pass filter to get a specific bandwidth coming out to a speaker. And obviously it's a makeshift, it's not a DSP system processor, but if you've got a pair of powered subs that you want to throw in, then it's very quick just to isolate the signal going to them. I was talking earlier about people that use left and right and left, right, center. So they route some channels to center, and that center then feeds your subs. If you feed your subs of center, but they've got a sub setting, you're still sending a full range signal. So it becomes very difficult to manipulate the quality of that sub speaker. Although if you can manage what you're sending any system properly before you send the signal, you reduce the amount of work that the DSP and the system has to do and all that, and you've got control over it. So if I'm using an auxiliary feed, which I often do, what I would do is I would set up an auxiliary, so one of my auxiliaries as a post-fade feed, and I label it my sub feed, so I can get from a channel, I can get very quick access to that auxiliary. But I don't send that auxiliary direct to my subs. I send my auxiliary to a matrix, and then I label that matrix subs. And then in the mixer, I choose that auxiliary that I've labeled, and I choose post fade, so that I've got control, and then I send that to the subs, and I open that signal, switch it on, and then that'll be my subs.